Welcome to Animania Chronicles, where we dive deep into the captivating worlds of anime, dissecting stories, unraveling characters, and sharing our passion for all things animated. Today, we're kicking off an exciting new series of reviews on one of the most epic fantasy adventures out there, the 7 Deadly Sins. In this first part of our 5-part review, we'll explore the origins of this thrilling tale, meet our charismatic protagonist Meliodas, and uncover the mysterious 7 deadly sins. So grab your popcorn and get ready to journey into the Kingdom of Lions as we delve into the 7 deadly sins. Let's get started. The story begins with a flashback set 10 years before the events of the anime. 2 holy knights find their entire platoon defeated, so they know that this could only have been the work of the famous 7 deadly sins, a group of rebellious knights wearing rusty armor. Back in the present, a cheerful and hard-working young man named Meliodas attends his tavern with great dedication while listening to his customers talk about the mythical deadly sins. Suddenly, a knight in rusty armor appears in the place and unleashes fear in the clientele. But he faints almost immediately, and Meliodas realizes that the person inside the armor is a beautiful waifu named Elizabeth. When she regains consciousness, Elizabeth reveals that she is looking for the holy knights, but Meliodas realizes that the waifu needs something to eat and offers to prepare a dish for her. While the waifu is eating, a group of knights appears on the scene and demands Meliodas to hand over the supposed rusty knight who entered the tavern minutes before. But he trolls them by disguising Hawk, his talking pig. However, Elizabeth runs out when she sees the knights and they start a chase against her, so Meliodas sends Hawk to get her to safety. Afterward, Elizabeth reveals that the Holy Knights are carrying out a coup in the Kingdom of Lions, and she plans to stop them as they are not the heroes the people believe them to be. It is for this reason that she needs to find the 7 deadly sins to ask for their help. But at that moment, a powerful knight arrives on the scene and begins to attack violently. He quickly realizes that Elizabeth is one of the king's daughters, so he decides to collect the reward. Meliodas saves Elizabeth from the knight's clutches, and she almost immediately realizes who Meliodas really is, the Dragon of Wrath, one of the 7 deadly sins, who beats up the knight. Meliodas tells Elizabeth that he has already found the first of the deadly sins, which thrills the waifu. After this, Hawk's mom arrives on the scene carrying the tavern on her back, and the two set off on a journey to find the other deadly sins. Meanwhile, the knight that Meliodas defeated meets with his boss, who has a great desire to exterminate the deadly sins. Days later, the duo arrives in Britannia, where Meliodas explains that they can get important information to find the whereabouts of other deadly sins. In addition, this place brews the best beer of all. After walking through the city, they discover that the rivers are dry and the plants are dying due to the drought, so they begin to suspect that beer production may have decreased. When they reach the center, they see that all the townspeople are gathered together trying to remove the sword that a holy knight stuck in a rock, as it has brought drought to the town. A boy named Mead appears on the scene, saying that he is able to remove the sword because he is a friend of the deadly sins, but this angers the townspeople. Meliodas takes him to the tavern. Elizabeth tells Mead that she has heard that he is very naughty and unruly, so she tells him that she also used to do those things to get attention when she was little. But she hurt her father with one of her pranks and understood that she could harm others with her actions. The boy is saddened and reveals that he is like that because he is an orphan and just wants to be accepted. He further explains that he put a bug in a holy knight's beer because the knight was extremely rude to everyone in the city, thus revealing that this sparked the sword in the rock conflict. Meliodas asks him about what he mentioned in the city, but the boy admits that he is no friend of the deadly sins, although he thinks they are good. After this, they run into the city as they heard a commotion. Some brainless knights mock the misfortunes of the citizens, so Mead arrives and tries to pull the sword out of the rock to shut them up. They begin to mock more and more, so the mayor of the town tells all the men that Mead is not to blame for anything as they have let others insult the town with their mockery. The whole town unites to remove the sword. Obviously, they are not able to do it, but Meliodas arrives at that moment and leaves everyone with their mouths open by doing it without problems. So the water flows again in the city. In the evening, everyone goes to celebrate at Meliodas' tavern as a thank you and has a great time while watching our favorite waifu work as a maid. On the other hand, Gilthunder, the knight who stuck the sword in the rock, finds out what happened in the city and asks one of his assistants for a spear. Then he makes an epic throw to cross the kingdom from end to end. Meanwhile, Meliodas senses something strange and leaves the tavern. While Elizabeth speaks to him, believing that he went out to console her for her bad performance as a waitress, Meliodas epically stops the spear and returns it back towards Gilthunder. So the latter immediately realizes that Meliodas is still alive. The next day, Gilthunder and his men begin to follow Meliodas, taking his information about a rumor about them going to the Forest of Dreams. Meanwhile, Meliodas, Elizabeth, and Hawk go into the dark forest to look for one of the deadly sins. Obviously, things were not going to be quiet in a place like that, so a few moments after crossing the forest on foot, they begin to see mirages of themselves everywhere. Fortunately, Meliodas proves that he has over 1,000 IQ by defeating the naughty little creatures that were trying to impersonate his waifu. After this, they chase the creatures and encounter a fearsome giant that immediately grabs Meliodas to crush him. However, she recognizes him and gets as excited as any other two waifu, proving that she is head over heels in love with Meliodas. The giantess is named Diane and is part of the 7 deadly sins. Plus, she is madly in love with Meliodas and is super jealous as she starts showing jealousy quickly upon discovering that Meliodas was roaming the forest alone with Elizabeth. Fortunately for him and his physical integrity, Meliodas manages to convince Diane that there is nothing going on between them. After this, a noise in the sky interrupts their conversation, and before they knew it, a lightning bolt descends and catches them. Gilthunder appears, and Elizabeth recognizes him, explaining to Meliodas that Gilthunder and she have known each other since they were little, as Gil's father was Zarathustra, the captain of the Holy Knights. Meliodas is surprised to hear this and remembers that he used to train Gil when he was little. Elizabeth can't believe that the sweet boy she had known as a child has become so cold. But he begins to bully Meliodas by telling her that he can't wait to avenge his father and prove that he is the strongest holy knight in history. Meliodas explains to him that he will not be able to avenge his father since he was not the one who killed him. Meliodas explains the last thing he remembers before losing his memories, and a flashback shows that he arrived at the commander's hall with the other deadly sins and found him lifeless. So everyone framed them and started attacking them. The last words he remembers before losing his memory were, "I'm sorry, Captain." Hearing this, Elizabeth tries to convince Gilthunder to leave Meliodas, but he ignores her and makes both her and Hawk leave the place. Meliodas and Diane smoothly free themselves from their restraints and prepare for combat, but Meliodas asks Diane not to interfere, so the fight between the two begins. Obviously, the fight is very close. It even seems that Meliodas is defeated. However, it turns out that he only let himself be seriously wounded to take advantage of his supposed last request before dying and ask Gilthunder for information about his companions. After this, Gilthunder continues attacking violently, and Meliodas shows that he is on another level by dodging without problems. Diane takes the knight in her hand and throws him far away, so the group can now march peacefully. Meanwhile, Gilthunder lands on a chapel and destroys it completely on impact. In the prison of Based, where one of the deadly sins is imprisoned, a knight appears before his superiors to tell them what happened in the Forest of Dreams. So they prepare to receive Meliodas and Diane. However, they underestimate how far the deadly sins can go since the place is literally an S-class security prison. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the vast realms of anime. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for more thrilling reviews and discussions. Until next time, keep exploring the boundless wonders of anime with us.